What's better than Monday Night Football? Breaking down MLB on a Monday night going into a Tuesday slate. I'm Jason from WinDailySports.com. I'm paired with Adam, and we're here to break down the Tuesday, April 12th slate for DraftKings and FanDuel. Give you some bets, give you our favorite plays. Adam had a good early slate going into Monday, and then extra innings in Colorado took away a lot of money for me, but was a profitable slate. The rest of the Monday night slate is still going down. Hopefully, you avoided the landmines. There's pitching landmines everywhere. Aces, scrubs, they're all getting, they're all going like 2 or 3 innings, maybe four if you're lucky. If you're really lucky, you get somebody who goes 5 or 6 innings here. But a lot of injuries, a lot of low pitch counts, and a lot of guys just getting smashed early. So we're going to break down the early slate. It's a 3-gamer. It's an ugly 3-gamer. Most 3-gamers are ugly. We got Shane Bieber up top and Tyler Mahle going against each other. Now, Adam, from a strategy standpoint, these are the two best guys on the slate. It's a 3-game slate. How do you feel about pitching both of them together on DraftKings and just hoping that they go out there and get the strikeouts you need, low earned runs, and the other guys who aren't that good at pitching get outscored by these two guys?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a pretty popular way to go about it, just based on who you have available. Matt Brash is a rookie who has some hype, but I'm not sure the White Sox are the team that you want to target in your first career start. It's probably not going to end well more often than not. I'm sure Drew Smiley will probably be in that top 3 ownership as well against the Pirates in PNC. This is one of the worst teams in baseball last year against lefty pitching. Didn't work out on Sunday against Steven Matz. He got beat up a little bit, but I'm going to be willing to say the Pirates don't do that very often this year.
Yeah, looking at Vegas right now, the Cincinnati-Cleveland game, and Cincinnati is a hitter's ballpark, and I think at this point, it's really close to Colorado and Coors Field, and this game has an over-under 8.5, Seattle game 9.5, and the Pittsburgh game 9, and these are the two best pitchers, so I'm leaning that direction. If you had to put a gun to my head right now to make a lineup the night before, I'm probably trying to build around Mahle and Bieber. I want to ask you, man, before we get to the late slate, any love, just like a little bit of love for Vince Velasquez and Jose Quintana? At one point in time, they did have a high K rate. They also have high walk rates. They also turned into like number 4, number 5, or even relievers at time. Any love for these two guys?
I mean, you could maybe talk me into taking a shot at Velasquez if you're playing, 3-5, something like that lineups. But if you're looking at single entry, probably not. As far as Quintana goes, again, probably not. Like, the Cubs lineup is set up pretty well against a lefty pitching. Quintana's best days were behind him 3 years ago. If they weren't, he wouldn't be in Pittsburgh.
All right, man. So that's how that slate goes from a pitching perspective, from a hitting perspective. Look, if you're going to be pitching Mahle and Bieber, which we're looking to do here, you said Brash has, some upside, good prospect, but the best hitting crew on this slate are the Chicago White Sox. They have the highest over under at 9.5. Part of that has to do with the fact that Vince Velasquez is pitching, but the White Sox, a good hitter's park. I think they're going to be the number 1 stack on the slate. You got them at number 1? If so, tell me who you got at number 2 or number 3 here.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, the White Sox are going to be 1, but you're going to have to be a little bit creative as far as when you stack them. You're probably going to use some of these guys in the lower end of the lineup, do the wraparound kind of deal, 8, 9, and then you pick, 2 of those top 4 guys to use because obviously the White Sox aren't cheap and they shouldn't be. But I think like you can kind of complement that with taking like some one-offs from the maybe even the Seattle side. You have guys like Kelnick, who's 3,700, trying to find Julio Rodriguez, the young kid they just called up to start the season. He's still flat K or flat 2K, the absolute flat minimum. Like that's a guy that he's going to hit lower in the lineup, and that's fine because they're on the road, so he's guaranteed the full 9 innings. And at 2K, like it's hard to really hurt you. Like even like okay, he gets a 0. You spent 2,000. If everything else in your lineup hits, it's not the worst outcome. And like even tonight, he drew a walk and he stole a base. He's already at 7. If he does that for you at 2K, you're really not complaining.
Yeah, I think a way that I would initially try to build and see if it's at all possible, working around, look, it's an early day game. Hopefully you get some backup catchers that can provide some value as well. The White Sox are expensive at the top, but they've been throwing out, a couple guys in a lineup that, typically are a little bit cheaper, like a Gavin Sheets, maybe a Larry
Yeah.
Garcia's in the lineup or Adam Engel's in the lineup. These guys got pop. It could work out for you. So, like, if you're building with Bieber and Molly, you can get Sheets either at first base or in the outfield. If you play him at first base, it really opens up stuff because you can leave that one other, outfield spot open. Garcia, a little bit expensive. I'm not like in love with the price at 4,100 if you're going to go there, but I like your thoughts here. With Seattle, there are some cheap options with Seattle here. And Velasquez is not a guy who worries me at all. So I would love to pair Bieber and Molly and maybe go with like a 4-3-1 stack where you're going to go 4, White Sox, 3 Seattle, and then a cheap punt at one of the positions and get a 2K guy, potentially from the Chicago-Pittsburgh game, 2K, 2,500. I think it works out. I even built like a core lineup right now with the most expensive White Sox with Molly and Bieber, getting Anderson, Robert, and Jimenez and Sheets. You still got an average on DK of 3,100 to fill out your last 4 spots. I
And
think you
that's
can get
workable.
there. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can get there with like 2K guys and rounding out another White Sox there. So I like that. That's how I'm going to build. Really, haven't locked in with any bets in this early slate. Is there any team that you feel has the edge? Maybe the White Sox minus 125, but you're backing up Vince Velasquez, which is kind of scary. Cubs out of the gate, they're winning ball games. Do you like them potentially against your Pirates? Any bets you like?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the money line for the Cubs right now is only minus 115, and I understand they're throwing Drew Smiley like he's not, the cream of the crop pitcher. But if you took the money line at minus 115, you can even take the run line. They're minus 1.5 for plus 145. Like offensively, they have a titanic advantage against these Pirates, and with both teams throwing out questionable pitching, that 145 returns pretty generous for winning by 2 runs.
Yeah, I like that. That's what I was saying. The White Sox, they do make some sense. The Cubs, they make some sense as well on both sides of the ball there. We'll definitely be laying out some props. I've been hitting a bunch of props the first week of baseball. So make sure you hop in our expert chat at windailysports.com. We have a Discord chat. We lay our props in there pretty early in the morning, early afternoon, depending on the times of these games, because props come out a little bit later. But we do got you covered on props, also on Monkey Knife Fight, Prize Picks, all your sports books. So make sure you check us out at windailysports.com. If you want to try it out for a week, use promo code RADIO for a free week of our offer. But go into the late slate. Look, we're going to skip the 2 6 o'clock games. As much as I want to talk about, this Mets-Phillies game, it's in a weird spot. It's not going to be on a main slate at 6:45. So let's jump to the main slate. And the first game we're going to talk about from a stacking perspective are the Yankees and Blue Jays. You got 2 lefties going on the mound versus 2 power righty lineups. And the over-under this game is starting at 10. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes to 10.5 or even 11 by game time. Is this the number 1 stack of the slate right now for you?
It's definitely up there. I do think a team like Houston is probably near the top of the list for me as well. Um, Maybe St. Louis against a lefty that kind of hasn't figured out his way yet in Daniel Lynch. I think definitely has some upside there too. But listen, you're in Yankee Stadium. You have, like you said, you have 2 lefties, righty heavy lineups, especially on the Blue Jays side. Like they can literally run out eight righties on a given slate like they did tonight. So I definitely have no issues attacking Nestor Cortez. He pitched pretty well last year. It's still the Blue Jays. I mean, these guys can go off any given slate. And honestly, like the Yankees have kind of leaned on this bullpen early. Tyone's given them a little bit of length so far tonight, but in that Red Sox series, they had to turn to the pen early and often which, we've seen so far with limited pitch counts is probably not the most ideal thing for a lot of teams.
Yeah, and I heard you mention the Houston Astros last week. You were trying to sell me on some Mad Bum. I was trying to sell you off of him. Now they're facing a totally different lineup here, man. These Houston Astros can hit. They got some big bats throughout the entire lineup here. So talk about these Astros, why you like them. Obviously, you got Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel, Adames Diaz, who's been hitting well too from the right side. Even McCormick's been hitting too. Are you leaning on the right side of this lineup, or is it Mad Bum and all bets are off and you're going to have your Don and a power stack for these Astros?
Yeah, I think you can throw Tucker or Jordan into the stack and make it a little bit different. And to be fair, when I was, talking last week about Mad Bum, my take was more he was going to ruin the Padres stack, which he did, for the record.
He did.
But
He
the
did.
Padres were
Padres did
mad
not.
chalk on that slate,
Yeah.
and they didn't do much. So I was half right. But yeah, like you look at the Houston lineup, man, it's going to be filled with righties, and they're so cheap. Yuli Gurriel might be back. I know he was on paternity leave. He is expected to be back in the lineup tonight. He's 3,900. Like the only Astro hitter that's over 5 is Altuve, and even he's easily attainable at 52. Like I kind of expect these guys to be really expensive. I've flipped to their page. They are not at all. Jeremy Pena is playing shortstop for them. 2,200. He started off at 375, an OPS over 1,000. I get it. It's early. We're not going just by game logs here, but somebody that cheap who's been hitting, in the back half of that Astros lineup, that still gets you exposure. That still gets you in that lineup. Alex Bregman's 4,500. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston's probably the chalkiest stack, or at the very least top 3 tonight, given their salaries, because they're just not expensive enough.
I like the call of that, but I'm going to mention one other team here. And if you can get onto some early trends early in the season, it does pay off. A guy that I'm going to mention is a guy that you're probably not going to guess I'm going to mention, but his price hasn't changed yet. Connor Joe and these Colorado Rockies are super cheap. I like them for a mini stack. And the reason being is I want the power bats, and Connor Joe somehow is a power bat. Him, Chris Bryant, and CJ Crone
Yeah.
are in a nice spot, man. Martin Perez does not fear, he puts no fear in my heart. He's a guy that I've stacked against for years and years and years. Sometimes he does limit damage. He's a ground ball pitcher. I know it. But Crone at 4,300 on DraftKings, Connor Joe at 3,100 on DraftKings, and you get Chris Bryant at 4,300 as well. So it's a nice little mini stack. We'll see how the rest of his lineup lines up. But if Grichuk or
and Grichuk as well.
Yeah, you got some guys there. You got some guys there against the lefty. Texas and Colorado have been banging so far this series. The over-under is 10.5 as well. And then you can always run somewhat of a game stack, and this would be a spot to go back and grab, a Corey Seager, potentially, some guys at the bottom of the lineup, one of the 2 Calhouns. They've been starting to heat up. I don't even want to say this guy's name, but Brad Miller will probably be in play too. So I think this can be, a little sneaky stack. A lot of people are going to gravitate towards, the Yankees and the Blue Jays and the Astros. I think this game has some game stack material. So thoughts on both sides of the Rockies and the Rangers?
No, I like both sides of it. Brad Miller's been leading off a lot of nights against righties. Let me tell you from personal experience, Chad Cole is not good. Hashtag not good. They went into extras today, so they've been leaning on bullpens. I don't think either one of their starters went past 5 innings. So that's 5+ innings their bullpens had to cover again today. Texas was coming out of a series against Toronto, so needless to say, their starters weren't finding the most success ever. And yeah, I mean, Colorado's not always a team that I stack on the road, but at their price tags, and it's not like Texas is a bad hitting environment by any stretch imaginable. It'll be one of the better ones, along with Arizona on the slate. There's definitely some game stack possibilities here.
So last team that I like, and then you can have the floor as far as any other stacks that you like. We were looking to pitch Dakota Hudson. We were looking to stack these Cardinals, but the game got rained out on Monday afternoon. Now they get a better matchup, I would assume, versus Daniel Lynch here. Look, you want when I see the Cardinals, the first thing I hope to see on the other side is a lefty. And I know Lynch, has some stuff. He's obviously in the pros, but you throw out Carlson, O'Neill, Goldschmidt, Arenado, and probably DeJong or maybe Edman or Bader at the bottom of the lineup. If you want to throw Yachty in there, I don't mind Yachty. He's just a little bit overpriced for me. But the Cardinals stack, backing it up with Hudson as well. I think Hudson's a nice little value here. The Cardinals are rested. They get the day off today, so that should help them out a little bit. Thoughts on the Cardinals stack, because the over-under in this game is only 8.5. Hudson's favorite at a minus 200 favorite. So that's probably meaning that, the Cardinals are projected to score 4.5, 5 runs, somewhere in that range. So I like Hudson, but I do like the Cardinals stack even more. Talk about the Cardinals here, bud.
Yeah, I'm not really in love with Hudson myself. At least at this point, I could change my mind after I do rotation tonight, but just first glance, it's probably not where I'm going. But with Daniel Lynch, like you mentioned, like yes, he has some upside. Yes, he's a highly regarded arm. He did not put it together in 68 innings last year. Only 55 strikeouts through those 68 innings, a 1.63 WHIP, an ERA over 5.5. I mean, the guy got hit hard, and he got hit hard often. And this Cardinals team got to feast on the Pirates pitching staff to start the year. They started out pretty well. It's probably going to continue until Lynch gives me a reason to say, okay, maybe he's getting some things are clicking for him at the major league level. I don't see much of a reason to not continue to attack him in some format.
Got you on that one. This last two games here, man, we just got to talk about quickly. The Dodgers Twins, man. I didn't even know Chris Archer was still in the league, I'll be honest, man. Like, he's been so in and out. And I didn't even realize that Andrew Heaney is pitching for the Dodgers now. Dodgers versus Twins, over under of 9. And then you got Patrick Corbin facing off against the Atlanta Braves. Lefty, you saw him get hit up against the Mets. I think the Braves have a good power lineup for the right side. Two other stacks that could play into Monday night. Any thoughts on those two?
Braves will probably be pretty popular once again. They were like stone chalk tonight. Slightly bigger slate tomorrow, but they're all still very affordable. Matter of fact, I think they went down $100 pretty much across the board. So that tells you all you need to know there. And then really both pitchers in the Dodgers Minnesota game is interesting. It looks like we might have some weather concerns, but if both these guys go, it's hard not to look at, again, both sides of the plate here. I mean, Los Angeles is one of the best lineups in baseball. We don't need to really spend a lot of time talking about this. And then he had a home run per 9 over 2 last season. I mean, the guy just got hammered routinely. So if you're giving me righty power bats from the Minnesota side, starting obviously with Buxton, I'll definitely be looking quite a bit on that side as well.
I would love to see, side note, I'd love to see 150 games out of Buxton. Like what that would
so would a lot
equate
of
to.
people, including
Yeah,
Minnesota.
if you can equate 150 games of Buxton, because he came out so hot last year, got hurt. This year is coming out hot again. I want to see 150. You could be talking MVP out of Minnesota. You probably won't win a playoff game because they don't do those types of things, but an MVP could be in play here. Now, Adam, you write one of the best pitching articles in the industry at WinDailySports.com. You do it 7 days a week. You can check it out there anytime. Our projection models, lineup optimizers are there as well. Of course, our expert chat. So make sure you subscribe, turn on the notifications onto this show. It'll be on every single day of the week. And also hop over to WinDailySports.com. Get yourself a free week. Use promo code radio. Lock in, optimizer, projection models, all that kind of good stuff. But Adam, this is your part of the show right now, man. I want to get your top pitchers of the slates and the gas can. I know you like to hit on those gas cans as well. So give me your top pitchers, the guys that you're going to be doing a little more research tonight. I know you're not locking in anybody the night before, but give me the guys that you like going into Tuesday.
Yeah, my initial read at first glance is I'm probably going to be under the field on Yu Darvish. He is the lone guy over 10K on DK. Didn't look spectacular his first start, and Arizona is a pretty weak lineup. San Francisco is certainly a better one. I'll get into why I'm not super into that play, but
wait. I gotta stop you. I need an explanation here. didn't look spectacular. He had a no-hitter through 6, and they took him out. What wasn't spectacular about it's Arizona.
Let me rephrase that. Spectacular for fantasy and by some of the
Okay.
underlying metrics. He had more walks and strikeouts. He left that game with a 625 xFIP. Now, granted, it's a one-game sample. It doesn't matter. Like, pitchers can get hit on the nose and kind of escape the raindrops and look worse in the box score on the advanced metrics after the game. Doesn't always matter. He did limit the damage. He didn't give up a hit, all that. But if you pay 10 grand for another 15 to 17 DK points, it's really not that great of an investment. Even on these slates where he threw 92 pitches and like right off the bat, that's a competitive advantage. If he's not striking guys out at 10-1, it doesn't help you that much.
No, I get that. So if you're not really on board with Darvish, and I think the price does dictate things on FanDuel, he's probably going to be, in my eyes, the best play because there's blemishes on a lot of these guys that we're going to mention after. I don't want to go to, Heaney on DraftKings or Eric Lauer here, but who do you like if you're going to be fading Darvish on DraftKings?
I do like Luis Garcia. He flashed some serious potential last year for the Astros. K rate over 26.4%, barrel rate under 7.5. Bit more of a fly ball pitcher than you'd necessarily like. It was around 40%. But if you can keep an xFIP under 4 with a home or a fly ball rate that high, it's pretty good. And he generated a 13.4% swinging strike rate. Like, this kid has some stuff. He hasn't quite put it all together how to use it, but just his pure stuff is pretty nasty so far. And the other good thing is he's only 25, so you can expect some improvement. The only kind of hesitation here is he probably will face a good bit of lefties. That was a weak spot for him last year. 353 WOBA. It was not ideal from the left side of the plate. The argument here is the quality of lefties that he faces is not that good in Arizona. So we'll kind of see where he shakes out, but that's definitely somebody that has my eye here early, at least on the high end. And then kind of in that mid-range, almost towards punt territory, it's not going to be the most crowded starting rotation ever because there's not a lot of options. Alex Cobb has supposedly been throwing 95 to 97 with his fastball in the spring. That's a big velocity jump from him. Doesn't always translate to immediate success. But with a guy like him who has a four-seamer, sinker, and throws a splitter a little bit, if he's gaining velocity at this point, it's something I'm really going to be looking into because at 7K, if he can go 5 innings, 4 or 5 strikeouts, 1, maybe 2 runs tops, maybe a little bit heavier in the strikeouts, that's going to be interesting. And the San Diego lineup, let's face it, without Tatis, it's a bit more average, and they're probably not as great against righties as they will be later on in the year when he's back.
Now, we did a show on opening day, and I said I got a lot of friends at DraftKings that work there, and I said, somebody dropped the ball on opening day. Now I realize it can't be a human being because this just makes absolutely no sense to me unless I'm reading something wrong here. Hudson was supposed to pitch on Monday. His price was 8,100. The game gets rained out. Now he's 6,300. Same matchup. The name's the same. What the hell is going on with DraftKings? Why would they did he break a nail in between, Monday night and Tuesday? What the hell went on here? Or is their algorithm broken because they said, okay, we shifted him a game and now he's potentially I don't know. What happened here? And now do we have to play Hudson at 6,300?
Their algorithm is messed up because it went the right way, but Robbie Ray got rained out opening day, and then the next day he was 8,400. He climbed by $2 grand, which he should have been more expensive in the first place. But again, you just moved a day. Why suddenly did you change the price this drastically? Why did they price the Astros like this? Why did they price the Dodgers in Coors Field like they were some bums playing in the middle of nowhere? Now, granted, it didn't work. The Dodgers sucked that night, but there was
Yeah.
no reason for their prices to be there, and like none whatsoever.
So let me ask you the question. Do the people who work at DraftKings realize yet that the algorithm is broken? Because like you would have thought they fixed it like day one, day two. Now it's still happening. So something is effed up. Like something is definitely broken at DraftKings with their pricing model. Now, knowing that, Hudson at 6,300, I know you were off him for certain reasons, but in that range, if you got to go down, how do you turn down him versus KC? I know KC hit a little bit, as of late, but 6,300 here, any love here for Hudson at this price?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm totally off him. I got to look deeper. The uh, the Royals lineup, I think the more fear is on the right side of the plate, which does play into Hudson's favor. My first glance is I'd probably be more interested to get to Cobb, who's only $700 more. Depending on what happens with Mike Trout overnight, he got scratched tonight. I want to see if he's in the lineup tomorrow. Even Luzardo is going to probably be at least semi-interesting. The Angels were
Yep.
quietly pretty bad against lefty pitching last season. It's a little bit harder on Ohtani, who's a lefty. Jared Walsh is a lefty. If Trout's not in that lineup, Luzardo may not look that bad in that mid-range.
Yeah, those two guys, both sides of that game, man. Like I like to pick on Miami whenever I can, and I think LA is overrated. And if you tell me Trout's out of that lineup, they're really overrated. I think on both sides might take a shot on Sandoval and Luzardo. I probably lean Luzardo with you here. I think Sandoval is playable. Those are the last two guys on the slate that make any sense to me at this point. But Adam, I want to play a little game before we head out of here. Home run calls, it's tough to do, man. We didn't nail it, on opening day, but I want to try this game again. So give me a home run for the late slate, the main slate on DraftKings. You can pick anybody on the board. Somebody you think is going to go deep. Who's your man?
I will say I'll take Bregman.
Bregman for the Astros. I'm probably going to lean. I'm not a Yankee guy, but let's go with Giancarlo versus Kikuchi. Stanton's been hitting hot out the gate. I think the Yankees going to be interesting here. Could go a lot of different ways. I think some Braves could be good. Some Cardinals could be good, but I'm going to stick with Giancarlo Stanton on the slate. Everybody, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Go to windailysports.com. Adam is in Discord 24/7, 365. We got NBA playoffs coming in. Any upsets you see in the NBA playoffs? I don't know if it was you that upset Tony today, but you think these Sixers are not going to make it out of the first round? And
I mean,
who?
Sorry, I didn't upset Tony today, but I can because I think the Raptors at least take it to 7.
Okay.
I have a soft prediction that they win. I just think, man, Toronto's just such a pain to play. Like they play
Complete
hard
team. Yeah, they're
every night.
complete.
Right. They're going to have trouble scoring through parts of that series, but they just defend their asses off, man. They're going to be such an issue. And these guys are used to playing 40 minutes a night because it's all Nick Nurse did the entire season. Like they don't
All
care
right.
that they're going to play 40 minutes. That's just what they do. That's like Tuesday night against the Thunder for them.
Real quick, who's your NBA final prediction? Who's going to make it to the finals and who takes it down?
I think we get Suns versus Bucks part 2.
Really?
I think the Suns kind of get not revenge, but they get one up, one back. I think the Suns are going to win it this year. That might be the chalk call, but man, the Suns are just so good, and in crunch time, they just make every damn play, every single time down the floor, whichever side of the floor it's on, whatever play needs made. It just seems like the Suns make it every single time.
Brooklyn Golden State makes a run or they get knocked out early?
Depends on Curry for Golden State. We haven't seen him in a couple weeks. Listen, as much as a Jokic guy as I am, Golden State should handle Denver in the first round, probably 4-2, I'd say. Brooklyn, it's hard to count these guys out. I mean, I don't need to sit here and say how great Durant and Kyrie are, but they have to prove they can defend. I'm not necessarily buying Ben Simmons is just going to come in and be an impact player after not playing the entire season. They're saying he might be back for the playoffs if they get there, which I think they handle Cleveland pretty easily. But it's a lot to ask of anybody to not play the whole year and just drop in and be a defender that Brooklyn really needs. Brooklyn can't stop anybody,
especially when you got head games going on. You can't get out of your own head. Like that's the
right?
last. I was talking to Tony about that. That's the last way you want to come into that situation. Just come cold into the playoffs, and if you
Right,
make a
it's
mistake
tough,
in the playoffs, like you're done.
right? And the thing is, like, okay, Kyrie and KD, let's just say they average 70 for a series. That's a lot of points. That's a
Yeah.
lot, and they probably won't even average that. They're giving up 110 a night. Where are they getting the other 45 to 50 points every night they need to win? That's going to be the question for them. It's not KD and Kyrie, man.
Well, we can talk about the NBA, and we'll definitely have an NBA show laying down some of these series, some bets to lay down. Hope everybody has a profitable Tuesday, early slate, late slate. Make sure you check us out at windailysports.com. Like I said, use promo code radio. Get yourself a free week of our optimizer projection models and all that kind of good stuff. Good luck on a Monday night. Good luck on Tuesday, and we'll be back tomorrow breaking down the Wednesday slate.